You also talk about like a very special character in your book, a rogue of sorts that, well, passed away this week. We're talking about John McAfee, and
Right.
you devote quite a bit of space to John McAfee. I mean, deservedly. Like if this is a book that John McAfee is supposed to be on, this is the book. The Crypto Wars is the book. So, I mean, are you planning on adding something about his untimely death in the book?
I'm not going to change the book now. I think there's a sentence somewhere. I think it's in the introduction, and where we say that everything in crypto changes so crazy fast. So fast, just constantly that there's no way you can ever catch up with everything that's happening. And if you change this and you're going back every day to make another edit because things in crypto change so fast. So no, we won't be editing it. We'll leave that to the reader to research. But yeah, he the fact that he died, is interesting. And we had a whole debate in our Crypto Carry Club WhatsApp group, whereby some people think he committed suicide, and probably 90% of people in crypto seem to think that he was taken out. Again, we'll probably never know. But he really had a huge impact on that time, sort of in around the ICO era, where, he was just pumping and dumping coins. And again, just he worked out that if you could just send a tweet, how much that can manipulate markets. And it did. You watch people just running to sort of, the minute a tweet was tweeted, that would rush to buy that coin, or would set bots to sort of follow his tweets and then would auto buy. And, some people did well, lots of people lost money, but it hugely manipulated markets. And there's still so many cryptocurrencies now where you can look back at the charts and, you see whatever it was, steady. And then there's just an instant needle where his tweet just pushed the price of something up by, hundreds of percent, instantaneously, and then it crashed again. So there was huge, manipulations of the markets going on there.
And I mean, just as a caveat here, because that's something that you said in the introduction, and I don't think we draw it across as much as we should have. Yeah, for every person that you see that made money with one of these scam coins or one of these things, there are likely 99 that lost money because of them, right?
Exactly. Because the first ones, the smartest ones, the ones that have the most ability to have the best bots and to get in earliest and all of that, they already did well. And often, especially with the pump and dumps, the people who ran the groups, ran the pump and dumps, did the best of all. And that sometimes included influencers who are running sort of these pump and dumps, publicly from YouTube by getting people to buy what they said. And because the first people that got in, they got in before they told anyone else about it, and then they pumped it and so forth. So exactly that. The vast majority of people lost money, I think, and a few people did exceptionally well.
And when it comes to John McAfee, do you have a theory there? Do you think he killed himself? Do you think he was taken out?
Judging on the collective, assumption. We had this debate on our group. About 90% of people in crypto seem to think that he was taken out. That seems to be the general consensus. I don't know. I don't imagine we'll ever know. One can see it both ways. He's going to be extradited to America. He's going to face life in prison. That's going to be pretty miserable. And if you've already been in prison, I imagine that's not easy. So there's probably motivations to kill yourself. But then also that he does know a lot, and he probably has generated enemies, and he probably does know more than he let on. So, there's probably also motivations to take him out. I don't know. I don't really want to be the one to put a guess on that. I don't imagine it will ever come out.
I mean, with people like John McAfee, you would think that they sort of like lived life in their own terms, and it would make sense for them to sort of try and take their own life in their own terms rather than die in prison, right?
Who knows? Who knows? I think with some of these things, you just cannot imagine what's going on in people's heads. And I read a beautifully written obituary about him by a guy who's in the Curry Club, a friend, Darren Parkin. He's the editor at City M, and he wrote a beautiful obituary about John McAfee, about how he'd had a really hard childhood and been abused as a child, and his father had drank a lot, and how he'd been led to sort of drinking drugs at an early age. And it's hard to know what's going on in someone's life, but it's not like the guy had an easy life from being a child. So who knows?
He was also a great piano player. Like, you would see his tweets of him playing the piano.
I didn't know that. Well, that's a skill. I certainly can't play the piano, so that's a kudos to him.
Yeah, like you would see these videos of him that he would tweet out, and he's playing the piano, and he's great, man. Like, you would think like there was definitely a future there if he would want to have pursued.
Had he wanted to be a professional piano player? Interesting.
Although I reckon like he wouldn't change the living in international waters for that.
Maybe. Well, apparently the last is at the end. He was living on a Spanish mining farm, so who knows?